Good day. My name is King Albert William Upshur again. I'm coming back in reference to this topic is about the 72-hour wait going through the process of being put in jail. It's a 72-hour timeline for them to hold you prior to you being charged. And it goes a little something like this. Because of the Fifth Amendment, no one in the U.S. may legally be forced to testify against himself. And because of the Fourth Amendment, no one's records or belongings may legally be searched or seized without just cause. However, American police are trained to use methods of deception, intimidation, manipulation to circumvent these restrictions. In other words, cops routinely break the law in letters and in spirit in the name of enforcing the law. Several examples of this are widely known, if not widely understood. 1. Do you know why I stopped you? Cops ask this, not because they want to have a friendly chat, but because they want you to incriminate yourself. They are hoping you will not voluntarily confess to having broken the law. Whether it was something they had already noticed or not, you may think you are apologizing or explaining or even making excuses. But from the cop's responsive, you are confessing. He is not there to serve you. He is there fishing for an excuse to find or arrest you. In asking you the familiar question, he is essentially asking you what crime you have committed. And he will do this without giving you any memorandum warning in an effort to trick you into testifying against yourself. 2. Do you have something to hide? Police often talk as if you need a good reason for not understanding for not answering whatever questions they ask, or for not consenting to a warrantless search for your person, your car, or even your home. The ridiculous implication is that if you haven't committed a crime, you should be happy to be subjected to random interrogatories and searches. This turns the concept of due process on its head, as the cop tries to put the burden on you to prove your innocence, while implying that your failure to cooperate with random harassment must be evidence of guilt. 3. Cooperating will make things easier on you. The logical converse of this statement implies that refusing to answer questions and refusing to consent to searches will make things more difficult for you. In other words, you will be punished if you exercise your rights. Of course, if they coerce you into giving them a reason to find or arrest you, they will claim that you voluntarily answered questions and consented to the search, and will pretend there was no real threat of what they might do to you if you did not willingly cooperate. Such tactics are also used by prosecutors and judges via the procedure of plea bargaining, whereby someone accused of a crime is essentially told that if he confesses guilt, thus revealing the government of having to present evidence to prove anything, then his suffering will be reduced. In fact, plea bargaining is illegally in many countries precisely because it basically constitutes coerced confessions. 4. We'll just get a warrant. Cops may try to persuade you to consent to a search by claiming that they could easily just go get a warrant. If you don't consent, this is just another ploy to intimidate people into surrendering their rights, with the implications again being that whatever inconveniences the police by requiring them to go through the process of getting a warrant will receive worse treatment than one who cooperates. But by definition, one who is threatened or intimidated into consenting has no truly consented. Has not truly consented to anything. 5. We have something. We have someone who will testify against you. Police informants are often individuals who own legal troubles, but put them in a position where they can be used by the police to circumvent, to undermine the constitutional rights of others. For example, once the police have something to hold over one individual, they can then bully that individual into giving false, anonymous testimony which can be used to obtain search warrants to use against others. Even if that informant gets caught lying, the police can say that they don't know, making this tactic cowardly and illegal, but also very effective at getting around constitutional restrictions. 6. We can hold you for 72 hours without charging you. Based only on claimed suspicion, even without enough evidence or other probable cause to charge you with a crime, the police can kidnap you or threaten to kidnap you and use that to persuade you to confess to some relatively minor offenses. Using this tactic, which borders on being torture, police can obtain confessions they know to be false from people whose only certain then and there is to be released. 7. I'm going to search you for my own safety. Using so-called Terry frisk, named after the Supreme Court case of Terry versus Ohio, 392 U.S. 1, police can carry out certain limited searches without any warrant of probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed, under the guise of checking for weapons by simply asserting that someone might have a weapon. Police can disregard and circumvent the Fourth Amendment prohibitions of unreasonable searches. And in U.S. courts have gone back and forth in deciding how often and in what circumstance tactics like those mentioned above are acceptable. And of course, police continually go far beyond anything the courts have declared to be legal anyway. But aside from nitpicking legal technicalities, both coerced confessions and unreasonable searches are still unconstitutional and therefore illegal. Regardless of the rationale or excuse used to try to justify them, yet all too often cops show that to them the Fourth and Fifth Amendment or any other restrictions on their power are simply technical inconveniences for them to try to get around. In other words, they will break the law whichever way they can to get you with it if it serves their own agenda and power. And they will ironically insist that they need to do that in order to catch lawbreakers, the kind who don't wear badges. Of course, if the above tactics fails, police can simply bully people into confessing falsely and or untruthfully, and or carry out the unconstitutional search, knowing that the likelihood of cops having to face any punishment for doing so is extremely low. Usually, all that happens even when a search was unquestionably and obviously illegal, or when a confession was clearly coerced, is that any evidence obtained from the illegal search or forced confession is excluded from being allowed at trial. Of course, if there is no trial, either because the person plea bargains or because there was no evidence and no crime, the exclusionary rule creates no difference at all. The police can and do routinely break the law and violate individuals' rights, knowing that there will be no adverse repercussions for them having done so. Likewise, the police can lie under oath, plant evidence, falsely charge people with resisting arrest or assaulting an officer, and commit other blatantly illegal acts, knowing full well that their fellow gang members, officers, prosecutors, and judges will almost never hold them accountable for their crimes. Even much of the general public will presume innocence when it comes to cops accused of wrongdoing, while presuming guilt when the cops accuse someone else of wrongdoing. But this is gradually changing as the amount of video evidence showing the true nature of the street gang in blue becomes too much even for many police apologists to ignore. And that's for today. Until next time, you have 72 hours to be held in prison before being charged, or they must release you. You got to learn how to remember. You got to be told your Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent, which means they cannot make you testify against yourself. But anything you say or do will be used against you in the court of law. So once you start, whatever you do, I don't care what it may be, they are going to use it against you while you try to explain yourself to the people. When it be best to just shut up and exercise your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Until next time, later.